Games, Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life here, and we have a tier ranking for you, a special one for the Halloween period. Similar to all our other Nightmare on Elm Street coverage, we are doing a tier ranking of every actual Nightmare on Elm Street death. So we have the number of the people who actually die. Well, in some cases, not actually people as well, a set of birds. Not the ones that occur in dream sequences. So, for example, a good example of what I mean is in the third film, Dream Warriors, Kirsten's mother is decapitated by Freddy in Kirsten's dream. Yeah. Well, that's not a real death. That's just him to get to her. Yeah. So her mother doesn't actually die. Because we see her mother later on in one of the later films. Yeah. So that doesn't count. It's basically everybody dies, right? So, as always, we have 5 categories to put these in. We have legendary, so it's a legendary death, one that everybody knows. Yeah. Fred-tastic. Well, if you know this franchise, you know it gets pun heavy. So this one will be, maybe not everybody knows, but you really enjoy it. You're like, that's pretty cool, man. Then we've got pun-worthy, because Freddy loves a pun. Yeah. Middle-of-the-road stuff, meh, and a stinker, as in the ones that go down like a lead balloon. Yeah. Okay? So you ready? We're going to get started now. We've got quite a few to get through, but not as many as you might think, considering the size of the franchise. Obviously, it's 8 films deep. Well, 7 films plus the remake, and technically Freddy vs. Jason, which adds another film to it. Although that's half Nightmare, half Friday the 13th, of course. Yep. So we begin with the birds. The birds. These are the 2 budgies from A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. We decided to include them more as a joke more than anything else, because they basically are victims of the heat in the house. So in Freddy's Revenge, Freddy's kind of like, it's like the boiler's constantly on, so the house is always getting really warmer and warmer. Picture how it was in England the last week, but constantly, with no aircon working. And it seems to drive these birds mad, I guess, and they explode. Yeah.
It's quite a random one.
It's a bit odd, isn't it? Yeah. Because you don't really get pet-related stuff in this franchise.
And the way it's explained away by the family is quite funny as well.
Of course, yeah.
It's just always the heat. It doesn't cause animals to explode.
You're absolutely right. It's meh. It's like...
Yeah, it's meh.
Of course it's meh. Yeah. It's meh. It's not a stinker because it doesn't really involve Freddy Krueger, but it's it is what it is. Yeah. All right, then we're jumping to Freddys Dead, and we are looking at Carlos. Carlos is one of the stars of Freddys Dead, one of the few characters that actually kind of die in the movie. A lot of these later franchises have very little death in it. In fact, Freddys Dead, if you include Freddy, it has 4. So it's actually 3. And Carlos is probably the best one, I think, of that movie, if you compare it to everything else. He's deaf, and he's not deaf. He's got hearing problems, so he has a hearing aid. Yeah. In his dream, he's taken back to being a child, where I guess it implies his mother might have been responsible for his hearing problems, because in his dream, Freddy puts a giant cotton swab through his ear, out the other. Really good. One of the better parts of Freddy's Dead, the final nightmare. But that's not what kills him. No. He ends up in sort of like the usual boiler room area and all that, and he finds his hearing aid. Freddy cuts off part of his ear, and he loses a hearing aid that way. Freddy gives it back to him, puts it on, but it's changed. It's transformed into sort of like a weird creature that attaches to his ear, but heightens his hearing. So in some of the more slapstick moments of the franchise, you have Freddy dropping like a pin and going, ooh, or like scrapes down the chalkboard. Yeah, and it's kind of obviously like super loud. Yeah, and that's basically his head explodes. Yeah, it kind of, and then boom.
I quite like it because it's quite nasty, the idea of like the hearing aid.
It's drawn, all right, the first part's good, the whole cotton bud, what do they call it in America?
Oh, Q-tip.
Q-tip, yeah, so if you don't know what about it, it's a Q-tip. Through the ear is really cool. When he has to pull out, it's quite painful. Then I think it's a bit dragged out with the whole hearing aid thing, and it gets a bit slapsticky. Yeah. And I don't love the effect of his head exploding. No. But it's the best death in the movie. Yeah. Like, it's the best one. Yeah. So where would you put this?
I think Fred-tastic. Because it kind of ticks boxes for being gory and...
Fred-tastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
You agree with me on that one?
Yep. I think it's a good place to start with it. Why don't I recognise who that is?
I thought it was Ross from Friends.
Right.
The little spin.
I'm going to come back to him because I don't know who that is, and I've got a list, and it'll be easier when I cross everyone out, and we get there, and it's like, oh, that's who that is.
Yeah.
That's who it is. So we'll jump then to the remake. We're at the remake now. We are dealing with Chris. This is Chris, a.k.a. the Tina character of the remake.
Yeah.
It's weird. She's basically the main star to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, it's her story more than anything else. She's hurt by her ex-boyfriend, or I can't remember if it's ex-boyfriend or current boyfriend who kills himself. He's the first victim. We'll get to him.
Yeah.
But her death is the Tina death. Ex-boyfriend. You know why? Because she dies in bed with her new boyfriend.
Yes.
That's right. Ex-boyfriend.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yes, yeah.
Chris dies the Tina death.
Yeah. But
She-
you actually... Yeah, but it changes. It's a completely more gory side of it, isn't it?
Oh, I wouldn't say. I don't know about that because I think you're all glossing over how gory the original is. I think you're forgetting where you see the slashes down Tina's chest and the dragged up the wall. What this does different is it doesn't do the dragging up the wall. She sort of as much. She sort of rolls in the air like she's being picked up in the air, whereas Tina was up the wall and that kind of thing. It's a good death, I think. I think it's a good death, but it's hard. This was always going to be the problem. It's going to be hard to rank these remake deaths because a lot of them are very similar to what we already saw.
Yeah.
This one in particular is literally a carbon copy.
Scene for scene, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. So I reckon pun worthy. Stick it in the middle.
Yeah.
Because it's still a good death.
Yeah.
If it didn't already exist, it would be a great death.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with that.
Yeah.
Right, we're going back to Freddy's Revenge for this next one, and we have Coach Snyder. Coach Snyder, the S&M loving, bullying, military-style teacher.
Yeah.
Played by an actor who played a villain so much in the 80s, I can never remember his name, but I always smile when I see him. I do enjoy his work. He played Quatto was in his chest in Total Recall. He played the villain in Twins.
Oh, okay.
He did quite a lot. He's done quite a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And in this, he plays a very caricature of a bullying gym teacher.
Yeah.
It's a little over the top where you're almost like, yeah, even in this era, that shit wasn't legal, mate.
Yeah, you can go with that.
Like, one of the things that make you laugh the most is when it leads up to his death is he catches Jessie in an S&M club.
Yep.
And Jessie's obviously underage about to have a drink, and Snyder grabs his arm.
Yeah.
And the next scene is Snyder's taking him to school and making him do laps around the gym.
Yeah.
How? No. Back to parents.
Yeah.
I found your kid in an underage bar
Yeah.
drinking. Not I'm taking this guy. Jessica would be every right be like no. And I get it's about being afraid of Coach Snyder and stuff like that, but it's a bit odd.
But on the flip side, though, I don't think you take the parents back to the kids and go, "Yeah, I was in this kind of bar."
There is that. There is this whole obviously the undercurrent of S&M sexual awakening, things to do with Freddy's Revenge. We're not getting into that here.
No.
But yeah, his death it's a slow one. It's a slow one because Jesse's in the shower and it starts with Snyder, like his gym equipment starts firing off and hitting him.
Yeah.
Balls and things like that. And then like towels wrap around his arm. He gets dragged into the shower where Jessie is, gets strung up and his clothes ripped off him, and then like whipped with a towel.
Yeah.
And then eventually slashed with Freddy's claw, which was Freddy / Jessie. Thoughts?
It was quite inventive.
It's one of the more memorable ones, I believe, from it.
Yeah, quite inventive. Again, obviously leans into the whole thing of the S&M part of things and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, the whipping he's butt naked, getting whipped with towels across his arse. I reckon this one. If we put Carlos up on Fred-tastic, I think this belongs up there as well. Just which one do you prefer?
I think I still prefer the ear.
I'll go with you, even though I prefer Snyder because obviously it's a bit more horror.
I think you can relate more to the ear one, and like you have a very like sharp ear pain.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna keep that one.
Okay. Right. The character I didn't know. It flashed in my mind while we were talking about Snyder. That is unfortunately how forgettable he is. That is Chase from Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Oh.
One of only 2 deaths in this movie.
What?
Just 2
That's
deaths.
crazy.
Absolutely. But Chase is Heather Langenkamp's husband, the father of their child, and he's driving. He has to rush home after Dylan has a situation, so he rushes and leaves his studio, but he's very tired and starts to drift off on the road. I love the build. I think I love the build of this, which is the slow falling, it's not like an instant sleep. He knows what and then you have the claw come out of the seat, and it's very slow, and it the first thing it does is sort of like flick his groin. Yeah. So he sort of rubs himself, catches himself, readjusts himself, that kind of thing. And when he fully falls asleep, the claw just pops out, and it's straight in the chest. Yeah. And it's quite gory because you would think that'd be the end of it, but you don't. You sort of see it slashing away. Yeah. This is I think this is great. Yeah. I think this. I don't know about Legendary. No. Because the film itself, but maybe top of Fredtastic.
Yeah, definitely Fredtastic. Legendary, no, because it's just in a car and it's just Freddy's claws. Mm-hmm. It's just the way it emerges is quite good. So yeah, Fredtastic.
Yep. There we go then. Right, well, back to Freddy's Revenge for the third of the fourth set of deaths in this, and this is Grady. Grady in his room. We don't really see his death. We don't actually see him die, so to speak. No. We see the result, which is the blood on the other side of the door. I mean, you see, when Jessie has been taken over by Freddy, and you sort of see him holding him up against the door and obviously doing the claws in, and then you kind of see it on the other side of the door. So it's not spectacular in that. The thing that makes me like it more is I really like Grady as a character. I did. I actually love the fact that the first part of the movie implies he's going to be like Jessie's anti-Jessie, like they fight, and then they end up becoming friends and quite caring about him. Yes, we know that there are undertones as to why, but that's not what this is about. It's about his death. But as a death, it's very it's standard. Yeah. Yeah.
Meh.
Top of meh. Yeah. Yeah. Head of the birds.
The birds are slowly getting pushed away.
They're not in Stinker, so there's that. Yeah. Okay, that brings us to. Let me remind me of his name. His name is Dean from the remake. Yeah, it is Dean. This is the death we referenced during Chris's. Dean is. We enter the movie and Dean's already having Freddy problems. Yeah. And I think his portrayal is one of the better ones. Yeah. He looks exhausted. Yeah. Really, really exhausted. But he ends up falling asleep in the diner, and his death looks like a suicide. It's a classic looks like a suicide death where he ends up really violently slashing his own throat. Yeah. Well, Freddy does it to him. Yeah. It's not claw related at all, in fact. It's a knife. But it's very, very violent, very, very gory. I do like that. Problem is, character means nothing. Yeah. We see him for 5 minutes and then he's dead. Done. And then we're supposed to be with these characters going, oh, poor Dean. And it's like, who? Yeah. Yeah, and that's a problem in itself. Where do you put this one?
I should go for another mech one.
Ooh. I think if Chris isn't pun-worthy, he belongs in there because it's a violent thought. So, he's nearly trying to decapitate himself. It's not like a little line. No, it's in deep. And, I think pun-worthy behind Chris.
Yep, okay.
Which brings us to, let me remind me of her name. It is one of the busiest ones, Debbie. One of 6 deaths in Dream Master.
Quite a lot in that one.
This is, I'm telling you now, this goes in Legendary for me. This is the Roach Motel death.
Yes.
This is all the most wonderful practical effects, the most gross moments. It's brilliant. It is everything you love about Nightmare on Elm Street. She is, I can't even remember when she falls asleep, but she's basically doing weight, and Freddy appears to spot her. And he pushes her arms down, and she hates bugs. This is the other thing. Yeah. And her arms snap off there, snap there, and her arms are all floppy.
Oh, it's horrible.
And then she's running into it looks like a warehouse with all this glowing light and all that. She's inside a roach motel, and her arms fall off, and these roach arms come out and stuff like that.
It's awful.
She gets caught in the sticky stuff of a roach motel, and she falls face down, and she pulls it up, and it's all ripped off, and she's a roach, and it ends with Freddy crushing it.
That's really cool. Yeah,
brilliant.
No problem.
100%. The effects of it alone, the practical effects are amazing. She's a likeable character as well. Yeah. It's gross, it's nasty, it's just, you know?
I definitely agree with you on that one.
And it even ends in a decent pun. He says something like, once you check in, you'll never leave, or something like that. Which, haha.
All the aspects of what you want from a Freddy death.
It is, It is one of the best ones of the films that people tend to overlook and forget. Talking of legendary deaths, though, it is Glenn from the original A Nightmare on Elm Street. Of course, famously played by a very, very young Johnny Depp. I don't think there's a person who doesn't know this death.
Yeah.
This is, of course, Glenn falling asleep in the bed and getting sucked into it, and the torrent of blood that erupts from it, the geyser of blood. There's not really a lot to say about it. I think it's probably maybe the most famous death
Definitely.
of Nightmare series.
If you mention it, people automatically know.
More than even like Tina's death, the very first. You know, I think it's legendary.
Yeah.
Even though I don't love the character of Glenn, and it's very hard to watch now when if you're not a fan of Johnny Depp or anything like that. Even though he's cute as fuck as a team, wasn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's such a legendary death, and how they did the effect, which was obviously the upside down room, and amazing. And even things that follow afterwards were like the police are there and the coroner's coming in with a
bucket.
No. He comes in with like the standard gurney, and the cop says to him, "You're gonna need a mop and bucket."
Yeah, that's it. Sorry.
Like shit like that is just that extra like fuck it in hell. Like
It's grim. Very grim. Yeah.
Top of legendary. I like Debbie's more.
I do like Debbie's more, and it's got body horror, and it's also it's body horror mixed in with like obviously becoming a bug. Yeah. I definitely go with that.
So yeah, I think we put it up there. Right. I unfortunately made a mistake.
Have you?
Yep, I'm going to have to pull out this guy here, who we said was Grady, because this is Grady. I've just recognised him there. I got confused by this guy's plain face. And we'll do him now then, as he's next in line. This is, of course, Dan. Dan, who first appeared in Dream Master, but doesn't actually die until Dream Child. Dan's just kind of like the
boyfriend.
Well, she looks at him from afar.
Yeah.
He's a jock, and they end up getting together at the end of Dream Master.
Yeah.
At the beginning of Dream Child, we get a kind of like artsy sex scene between him and the star. What's her name?
Oh. I can't.
Not Kirsten. She's Dream Master, and then it's whoever follows. Lisa? Alice. There we go.
Yeah.
And gets with Alice. She ends up pregnant with their child, which is how Freddy comes back through the dreams of the child. Dan's death is one I always remembered from these later films. So it's the bike death. It's the... he's speeding on a bike. Well, he's actually fallen asleep in his car.
Yeah.
But he dreams he crashes, gets out and gets on a bike. And the bike is Freddy. And it comes alive, and the wires and the intricate parts of the bike fuse with his body, turning him into some sort of like futuristic biker monster hybrid.
Yeah.
And you get this great, wonderful effect of Freddy's face, metal face, being the front of the bike.
Yeah.
Anyway, eventually, and it kind of speeds him up, but then he wakes up and dies in a car crash. I love it's like when you see the wires going into his ankle, and and he's in pain. I really like it.
Yeah.
I really, really do. He's also a really likable character. Now that I remember who he is,
It's inventive as well.
it's different. It's quite different at this point. One thing you can say about Dream Master and Dream Master and Dream Child is they had invention, even if they weren't always great.
I'd go for Fantastic.
I'd put it top.
A legendary.
Oh, Fantastic.
Oh, Fantastic.
Yeah, ahead of Chase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we're sticking with Dream Child for Greta. Greta's a character who really needed more development for this to work. Through a few scenes, we see that she's being forced to be a model by her mother. Her weight's being watched and what she eats and stuff like that. But she obviously doesn't really enjoy it. We needed more of that because eventually we just get to a dinner scene and she's fallen asleep at the dinner table where she's like the guest of honor to do, I guess, industry people about her getting a job in modelling. And she falls asleep at the table and it turns instantly, it's a dream instantly because like the hue changes and everybody acts a bit...
It's all that bit sort of blurry around.
You referred to it as like the Beetlejuice dinner scene, like that. As everyone's kind of laughing and teasing her and stuff like that. And Freddie is the chef.
Yeah.
And he locks her into a high chair and force feeds her. He starts to force feed and her cheeks billow out wide as he's forcing the food into her. And it turns out he's feeding her herself, like from her stomach. Yeah, I
found it quite horrible.
Her death...
The effect of her face is quite like... Ugh.
We'll get to that, but her death comes when, like, from her mother's perspective, she just starts to choke on food, which is how that works. I like it to a degree. I hated the effect. I thought it looked cheesy as shit. The blown out cheeks.
But I think if you've already got Freddie as a chef, So I think the cheese factor's already been established.
True.
So
and he's spitting out the puns galore here.
So if you've already made a setup, okay, this is going to be a tacky, cheesy looking one, then I'm already on board.
Where do you want to put it then?
I think pun worthy.
Okay.
Because I like it. Yeah, top of pun worthy for me.
I'll go with that.
Cool.
Okay, we're going to one of the busiest films for deaths now. We're at Dream Warriors, which has 7 deaths in it. And we are talking about Jennifer. Now, here's the thing. Everybody knows it's death, not for the death, for the line. Yeah. And what is the famous line that came from this?
Welcome to primetime, bitch.
That's it. Welcome to primetime, bitch. Jennifer falls asleep while watching TV. This TV show she's watching, which is a talk show, I don't know if it's Letterman or something like that, has Freddie killing, is it Greta Garbo? Greta Garbo, I think, is the character in it. It was a famous name. I think it's Greta Garbo. And he says something like that, and then it switches to Stag. She gets close. The effect is amazing. The arms coming out the side, metallic arms. Freddie's head with the antenna coming out the top. He grabs her arms, pulls her up, says, welcome to primetime, and smashes her head into it.
Yeah, really cool.
Probably belongs in Legendary, don't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Where in Legendary?
Below Johnny Depp's.
So bottom of Legendary.
Yeah, bottom of Legendary.
Okay. We're on the last of the remake deaths now. We are talking about Jessie, who is the boyfriend of Chris. He ends up in prison, obviously, in a similar way to Rod in the original film. Yeah. And he's in prison. And this death I really don't care for because it's just a nothing death. And it's one of those where... So, again, they were trying to make comparisons because he's the Rod character. Yeah. But they change up how he dies. Yeah. So Rod, obviously, in the original dies by hanging, made to look like a suicide. This is not that. No. For starters, it's a locked cell, so there's no way for that to happen. I thought they might go down the route of trying to make it look like the other guy who was sharing his cell did it.
Yeah, we both thought they're doing it.
Yeah. However, Jessie dies by basically having his chest explode out, as if Freddy's gone like that behind him, through him. That's going to be really hard to pin on the guy who shared a cell with him. Really, really hard when it comes to checking on him. Don't like the character. No. To me this is it's a bottom of meh.
Wasted opportunity. Yeah, what bottom of meh? Because it wasted opportunity. You could have done quite a lot with the whole prison thing. Yep,
could have. And if you really want to do something massively different, I feel like you could have done more here. Yeah. Because they even implied it where he was like, stay awake, and the guy on the lower bunk was getting annoyed with him. You know, play that into it. Make it look like it is the suicide thing, you know? I like that more. Yeah. We are back to Dream Master for one of the returning Dream Warriors characters. And we are looking at Joey. So Joey first turned up in Dream Master. He's the mute, cannot talk. His power is that he eventually learns how to speak, and it's powerful enough to shatter Freddy's mirrors. He was one of the returning characters for Dream Master. He's become... Well, he was horny in Dream Warriors.
The nurse.
He was, so he's super horny in Dream Master, which is his undoing. Yeah. His undoing. As in a dream, he sleeps in a waterbed.
Who sleeps on a waterbed?
And he feels something pushing underneath him, so he pulls back it, and the waterbed's now clear, and there's a naked woman swimming underneath. Yep. And he's just like, oh, doing, doing, boing, showing all that crap. Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing. Yeah. And a real disappointing turn for a character that dealt with Freddy to not be wary of something like this. Yeah. Anyway, he ends up getting pulled into the bed with it. It's Freddy. Freddy drowns him underneath it. He's discovered by his mother. The bed's sealed and he's in it, which is going to be really fucking hard to explain as well. Yeah. What do you think?
I like the imagery of the water.
It's a good effect.
Yeah, I thought it was quite a good effect.
And it's a horrible way to die.
Yeah, sort of stuff.
Drowning. Yeah, like that.
In a really tacky bed. Yeah. I'd go for top of Punworthy.
Ooh.
Or would you go for Fantastic?
No, I'd go lower.
Oh, okay.
I would put this top of meh.
Okay.
Because I think the other three in Punworthy are better. Greta, Dean, and Chris.
That's a middle ground then.
Yeah.
Top of meh.
Yeah, because it's better than Grady's. Okay, we are now at Freddys Dead again. We are looking at John. His name is John Doe because we never really know his name. I think we do learn later on, but we just call him John Doe because he's referred to it as that throughout the movie. John Doe is sort of the main character for a while. As it turns out, he's the last of the Elm Street children, and Freddy blanks his mind or knocks him out, sends him out to the world to bring people back, or to bring his daughter back.
Yeah.
John Doe, he's involved in some of the more slapstick moments of the movie. I don't necessarily blame the actor. I think he did the best he could. Yeah. But I find his death hard to watch because it's incredibly drawn out. It's the whole house in the sky thing, the parachute thing, and then Freddy pushing the spikes along the floor, Roadrunner style. Yeah. John Doe lands in them, and that's how he dies.
Nah, didn't like that one.
Meh?
Definitely bottom of meh.
No. I'm going to put it, I think it's better than, I think there.
Okay, better than the birds.
Yep, better than Chase, was it? No, not Chase, whatever his name was. Jessie.
God, yeah, the same sort of bland names don't stick out as much, do they?
Grady, not as good as Grady's. Grady's more memorable. Okay. We're now at the second and only death of New Nightmare. And this is a really interesting one. This is Julie.
Ah, yeah.
And Julie's death is Tina's death.
Yeah.
And Chris's death from the remake. However, I think it's the best one of all of them.
Definitely.
Out of all of them. And the reason being is because you really grow to like Julie.
Yeah.
The sequence leading up to it where she fights so hard to help Dylan and stop the nurses injecting him. The scene of her reaching out for Dylan, it's really violent. Remember, this is the Freddy, the evil, bad Freddy.
Yeah.
I think this is great.
Yeah.
I don't know about Legendary just because of the movie overall.
Yeah.
But I'd put this potentially top of Fredtastic.
Yeah,
because it's gory, it's violent, and you also get to see how it works. So one of the better things about this death is we see Freddy.
Yeah.
It clips between her being dragged up the wall, aka the usual, to showing Freddy pulling her leg up and over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, then we are at Dream Master again for the other returning character of Dream Warriors, Kincaid. Kincaid again first appeared in Dream Masters. Wonderful character, really likable. His dream strength thing, his dream power is strength.
Yeah.
But he returns in the fourth movie with an even more obnoxious voice for some reason. He's a lot louder, a lot higher pitched, a lot more dismissive, and I get it's about fear. And he's kind of responsible for Freddy coming back. Well, his dog is. I mean, Freddy coming back is weird as hell. It's very weird. It goes back to the scrapyard when Freddy's bones were laid to rest and the dog wheezes on them.
Yeah.
Which I guess destroys the concentration. I don't know.
I don't know, yeah.
But yeah, Kincaid dies here via Freddy. Yeah. It's as simple as that. I love the location. I love the scrapyard, the lighting. I love it. It looks great.
Yeah, it looks quite intense.
But yeah, I don't love this one. For me, this is a meh one as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I might put this... Where would you put this in meh?
Above the birds. The location.
Okay, I'm down with that. Yep.
Cool.
And we are still with Dream... Oh, yes, we are. Dream Master. We are looking at Kristen. This is a funny one because this is a character that also returned from the third film, but played by a different actress.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Whereas she was the star in the third film, in this she gets replaced by Alice about halfway through the movie when she's killed. What do you think? It's flaming water, effectively. And this is a bit of an odd death for her. I get they wanted to kind of get her out of the way, but she was such a major important part, they couldn't just kill her off quickly.
Yeah.
I barely remember this one.
No.
I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah, same here. You had to remind me, I'm like, flaming water?
Yeah, and then you've got this whole thing about, I mean, even the effect isn't that good either. Oh. And the actress, this might be the first one for a stinker, you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that one.
There's the first one for stinker. We're done with the original cast who crossed over. We're now back to the original. Now, this was an interesting one. Is I've chosen... She does die.
Yeah.
That's acknowledged in the third film. And this is why I put this one here. It's acknowledged as her dying in the third film as a lit cigarette.
Yeah.
The bed death. Now, there's two deaths for Marge, technically. You get the one of the bed death, or the one at the very end where she gets dragged through the window.
Yeah.
But that's a dream. That's a dream. And probably Nancy reliving the events of Freddy over and over again.
Yeah.
So we go with the bed death. This is where Freddy Krueger's been set on fire in the basement, runs upstairs, and Nancy and her father find Freddy on top of her in the bed. He covers with a sheet to put Freddy out. When it comes back, she's just like a skeleton sinking into the bed and then it fades away.
I enjoyed that one.
Fucking love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I adore this. When I was a child, this stood out more than anything else. And what stood out was that sequence of when he pulls back the sheet and the music that plays and like the glowing, like as if she's going into hell.
Yeah.
And the skeleton, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible. I love it. I really fucking do. She's a great character, detail layered, really interesting, likable to a degree.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So for me, it belongs in legendary.
Definitely. Because I noticed we've got a pattern with the darker ones, you know. We appreciate that one, you know, that the imagery.
I'll put it there ahead of Jennifer.
Yep.
Oh, that's welcome to primetime bitch in it. Yeah, there you go. Right, that's fair. There we go.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Right. Up next, we are looking at who are. Oh, you're from Freddys Dead. You are Spencer. No, sorry, he's not. Let me get it right. It's Mark from Dream Child. The Last Death of Dream Child. And we have another nomination for Stinker. I hate this. If people say to me, name me one of the worst things about this movie, this is what I go to. Mark dies via comic books, effectively.
Yep.
Mark's a comic book nerd. Very little character development. It sucks. It's awful. But he ends up in a comic book world. The animation and the effects are cool, and I love the sepia-toned change, but it turns into the most slapstick, stupid.
Yeah.
Where he becomes like a comic book warrior. Freddy turns into that buffed out version of himself. And the death itself is Freddy slashing away the comic book parts, like the paper.
Yeah.
And then you just see Mark's bloody hand in real life.
No.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah, I agree with you, not Stinker.
Bottom of Stinker.
Bottom of Stinker.
Hate it. It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Memorable for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
That's not a good one.
Okay, we then come to Nancy.
Yep.
It is Dream Warriors, and it is Nancy. The, obviously, face of the Nightmare series. I think this is legendary because of who it is and how it's done.
Yeah.
So basically, we'll get to John Saxon's character, her father, next, funny enough.
Yeah.
But he sort of crosses over and he talks to her in Freddy's world and says, like, he implies he's died, he's crossed over and all that. He wanted to say goodbye because they've been estranged for some time. They meet in a bar and they have a real problem with each other.
Yeah.
And he's a right dick about it.
Yep.
Wonderful John Saxon, rest in peace. So she hugs him and it's Freddy. He stabs her.
Yeah.
It's not, there's nothing special about it, but what it is and what it means, that Freddy won in the end.
Yeah.
He got his revenge, he killed her, but he used her father as well to do so, but all, you know?
Yeah, so that...
I think it's legendary.
Yeah, I think the thought put into it and say it's such a legendary character.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think bottom of legendary.
Yep.
Like, I think for memorability.
Yeah.
Which then brings us to the man himself, John Saxon. I can't remember what his name is in it. What his name...
Officer...
We just call him Nancy's father, innit?
Yeah.
So he dies in the real world as well via Freddy attacking the real world when he is with the doctor trying to bury Freddy's bones. I love the build. I love the build, the going into the scrapyard, into the centre. I love when he tries to run away and the doctor's got the keys. I love everything about this. And I even enjoy what happens, which is the skeleton coming to life. Freddy transferring his soul to it and it becoming like a Jason and the Argonaut stop motion animation.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's simple. It's simply a slash of the claws and stab with John Saxon. But I love a lot of it.
Yeah.
It's not legendary,
No.
but I think it belongs on Fredtastic.
Definitely. Where in Fantastic?
I reckon.
Below Julie.
But yeah, after Julie,
Before...
in between Dan and Chase.
Yep.
There.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this next one's a funny one, as it's a lot of people together. It's Party Guests.
Yep.
I've written it as Party Guests. This is the end and the last deaths of Freddy's Revenge, where Freddy is in the real world and he just goes crazy, killing lots of party guests.
Yeah.
It's all flashy and cut, and it's a lot of slashing, and you get some like boiling water and stuff and fire. It's a bit, and there's some people being crushed and stuff like that. It's a hard one to rate because it is just a random assortment of guests.
It's not really imaginative.
If we put the Birds and Mare, this goes alongside it, I think. Probably after, though, because at least with the Bird, we get Clu Gallagher going, blaming Jessie for sticking a fucking bomb up one of their asses.
Oh, yeah.
And disbelieving, and stuff like that. So at least we've got that. Okay, we have Philip from Dream Warriors now. And it is Philip who is the marionette fool. He makes dolls, marionettes, and stuff like that. For me, this might be the most memorable death of Dream Warriors.
Very dark. Yeah.
It's the first death, and basically he falls asleep. Freddy's little appears as a marionette model, and then he grows big and cuts him down his wrists and legs and pulls the veins out like a marionette. And he controls him. From the perspective of his roommate, he's sleepwalking. Something they say he does. Yeah. And he looks like it as well, or he's a bit like that.
Jerky.
And it's wicked. The shots, it jumps between the shots that you see of him where he's like in real world, and then we see the bits and the way the veins are all caught in there, and it looks painful. It looks like he's being slowly controlled. And Freddy brings up the bell tower, then cuts them, and he falls to his death. Yeah. It's legendary. Yeah. It is legendary. Yeah. Where do we put it in legendary? It's an amazing death.
I'd go above Nancy for the inventiveness. Maybe even higher.
I'm going to go high. Yeah. I'm going to say, because I remember this was one that stood out for me as a youngster. It's one I remember the fact I can picture and talk about how he moves.
Like jerky, yeah.
You know? And like when it focuses on his feet and it's all cut open and you've got the vein, you know?
At the front, yeah.
I'd put it... See, I love this one. I love her for the practical effects. So is this.
Oh, a difficult one.
What about here?
Yeah, that's fair.
Because Johnny Depp's one is so iconic. Yeah. Okay. Up next we have... Oh, God. We might have another stinker. It's Rick. Love Rick as a character. He is Kirsten's brother. No, Alice's brother.
Yeah.
Really likeable. The problem is the karate shit. It's really fucking cheesy. And the scene where he's trying to teach Alice some karate moves, it will make you cringe. And his death takes place in a dojo where he karate fights Freddy. It's shite. It's not gory. It's crap. Yeah. It's just awful. It's just... But he's a great character. He's really likeable.
Deserved a better death than
he really did deserve a lot better than this. I'm going to say top of stinker.
Yeah.
Because I like the character so much.
Yeah.
Move them over.
Yeah. I think that's a fair point.
It's where it's gone. Okay, we're looking at Rod. We are looking at Rod from the original Nightmare on Elm Street. He dies via hanging. This is we've already talked about him in the police station. He's Freddy, I guess, manipulates while Rod's asleep a blanket, uses it to wrap around the bars and hangs Rod. Yeah. I really like Rod as a character. I felt really bad for him to get wrapped up in this. I liked him. He was layered. He cared for Tina. Yeah. The whole bad boy act and stuff like that is clearly so false as well. Yeah. I really like him as a character. But it is just a hanging.
Yeah. I mean, the dark element of it is that obviously it's quite a simple explanation. And it all makes sense.
He was up for the murder of his girlfriend. Yep. And he hung himself in a police cell. It's not that unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just meh, really. I think. Top of meh?
No, I think it goes on Punworthy.
Okay.
I think, considering what we've got on Punworthy, it belongs in there.
Yeah.
Bottom of Punworthy.
Dark element, yeah.
It's dark.
Yeah.
And it's a character you like.
Yeah.
Okay, we are now at Sheila. We are at the last of Dream Master. And this is Sheila, one of the worst characters in the franchise, in my opinion. I find her incredibly irritating. She has asthma. One of the things Dream Master and Dream Master and Dream Child would do was introduce characters that had, and Freddys Dead, had an issue. Yeah. Something about them that defined their personality, be it like in comic books, be it like in karate, be it having asthma. Yeah. See, it was almost preempting a death. Yeah. She falls asleep in class, and Freddy's the teacher. Bit of fun here, and he ends up. Well, he says it's a great line. Do you want to suck face? Yeah. He ends up kissing her and sucking the life out of her. Yeah. In real life, she has an asthma attack and dies, suffocates to death that way.
I like the effects on it because she does look like she's actually like the life physically.
It's not overtly dragged out. It's got a good pun. It belongs on Punworthy.
Yeah. Yeah, because the old teenage thing, suck face. Yeah. Yep. I think second because it's similar to the other girl's one with the face.
I'll let you have that.
Yeah.
I'll let you have that.
Good.
I'll let you have that.
Oh, curtains. We're back in the 90s.
Yes, we're in the 90s. For the last death, and what I consider... Have I already said I consider something the worst death? Because this is if not this is the worst one for me, or up there alongside it. It is Spencer from Freddys Dead. Spencer dies via video games. I hate this. I hate it. It lasts for ages. I swear it goes on for like half an hour. It's more like 5 minutes. Yeah. Spencer gets high, falls asleep. Johnny Depp has a cameo on the TV. This is your brain on drugs. Yeah. We get some horrible effects. Supposed to be like trippy shit. Spencer gets sucked into it. Ends up in a side-scrolling platformer that looks awful. Where he's chased by his dad, who wants him to be more like him. Be like me. Be like me. Be like me. Hear that? Spencer eventually fights back because Freddy's controlling the father. You see Freddy in with a control pad and everything, and he says so many stupid lines. Wow, killer graphics and shit like that. Yeah. When Spencer gets the upper hand and starts winning, Freddy pulls out a glove and says, now we're playing with power. It's the power glove. It's Nintendo's power glove. It's supposed to be a pun on that. What? Yeah. Why? Yeah. Why? In real life, Spencer bounces. Boing, boing, with a sound effect around the house. Getting his head knocked in roofs. It's awful. He ends up at the top of the stairs where Freddy in the game is whipping him with a towel as he's going to fall down into a pile of his versions of his father. Yeah. And he's wobbling up down in the stairs, and then he falls down the stairs, a hole opens up, and he dies. Yeah. Fucking the worst. Yeah, the worst. Like, the worst. Like, not it's so fucking bad. Whoa, you're not... What's... Oh, no. There you go. Yeah. The worst. Yeah. The worst. Honestly... Watch a clip of it if you've never seen it. It'll make you cringe. That's what it is. It's cringe-worthy.
Yeah, that's the word.
Okay. We have 3 more. 3 more. 2 from Dream Warriors and 1 from the original. So, let us do Taryn from Dream Warriors. Fucking love this.
Yeah, it's so good.
Oh, God almighty. I love Taryn. I love her character. I love her layeredness. I love in her dream that she's a bad girl, but still, you can tell she's unconfident about it. She's got the drug past. When she ends up trapped by Freddy, it transforms into a seedy alleyway. Something from her past. She passes a bum that turns out to be Freddy. And he's like, he doesn't want to kill her. Yeah. He's like, let's get high. And he shows off his hands. And the needles, their syringes. It looks fantastic. Yeah. You see her arms then, her track marks. A little mouse, like opening wide, desperate for it.
Awful.
And she's and then he injects her like in her arms, and he even does the whole like, and you see her face like veins coming through it.
It's awful.
Legendary.
Definitely
top of legendary.
Oh, it's difficult for me because I really like the cockroach one, but the holes in the arms is awful. Like, I don't like watching injections in films. So for me it was like, oh god. Just below the cockroach, because that still is awful.
Okay, I'll go with it.
Yeah.
We're going to skip this and do the next one because I want to save her to last. It's by chance she's ended up being there.
Yep.
Then we got the last one from Dream Warriors. It is Will. Will, who is the wizard master in his dream. So Will is unable to walk. He's in a wheelchair, but in his dreams he can walk. He's a fucking nerd. There's no other nicer way to put it. He's a standard nerd. And in his dreams, he's a wizard master. I hate it. Not hate this. I don't like this one. This is the worst death of the thing. He fights Freddy in like a alleyway when he turns into wizard master. Blows up the wheelchair that's attacking him, and then runs towards Freddy, shooting lightning. Gets to Freddy, and Freddy just grabs him by the throat and stabs him. Meh.
Yeah.
Bottom of meh.
Definitely.
Bottom of meh.
Yeah.
It's almost worthy of being a stinker, actually.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you know what?
It's tacky and there's no
compared
payoff.
to everything else there as well.
There's no payoff for the tacky and cheesiness of it, which is what everyone's had.
Which brings us to the last one. And the very first death of the Nightmare on Elm Street series. All the way back in 1984, a girl called Tina, who we've referenced many times already through this, would be the first victim of Freddy Krueger. Tina is, again, similar to Dean from the remake, already being attacked by Freddy in her dreams. Wonderful built character. She does fear portrayal well when she talks to the others about it. She's scared of Freddy. She sells his fierce stuff to begin with.
Yeah.
She dies in her bed, basically. She is the dragged up the wall. Famous.
Yeah.
Famous.
Yeah.
It's gory, it's violent. It's gory, it's violent. She's screaming and shouting all the time.
Yeah.
She gets dropped in the bed, a splash of blood. It's legendary.
Yeah.
And I would argue that this one goes top.
Yep.
Just because it's Tina and it's the first.
First death.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's just no arguing with it.
Yep.
You know, it's just like it is that death. There you go. It's not as many as you might think.
No, I thought...
Really isn't. But we've done quite well, and more legendary than I thought. So let's quickly run through them. Starting from the very bottom, the deaths that we consider are stinkers. I'm going to forget names now, so I'm going to get my book out
lots
again.
of, like, American teen names that blend in.
We have Spencer from Freddys Dead. He dies via video games. We've got Mark via comics from Dream Child. We have Kristen 2 from Dream Master via Flaming Water. We have Rick from Dream Master via Karate. And then we have the last one, Will in Dream Warriors via
Wizardry.
Crap wizardry. Meh deaths is Jessie via chest bursting. We have party guests in Dream, Freddy's Revenge, should I say. Party guests. We have the two birds who ranked higher than some of the other deaths. That's amazing. Freddy's Revenge. We have Kincaid dying from Dream Master. He dies via stabbing, basically. We have John Doe via spikes in Freddy's Dead. We have Grady from Freddy's Revenge dying via stabbing. A lot of the stabbing seemed to rank low.
Yeah. No imagination.
Yeah. And then we've got Joey via horniness in Dream Master. It is.
It is, yeah.
Our pun-worthy. So our middle-of-the-road ones. We have Rod via hanging from the original film. From the remake, we have Dean via throat slashing. And Chris via Tina death from the remake. Then we have, what's her name? Sheila via asthma, sucked to death. Yeah, however you want to put it. And Greta from Dream Child via eating too much. Now our top ones. We get to Fredtastic. We have Coach Snyder from Freddy's Revenge via S&M torture.
Yeah.
Then we have, what's his name? Carlos via ear-related stuff. Chase via one of the only ones of simple stabbing to get to the top. Because of the build and how it's done, it's great. We have Nancy's father, again one of the stabbing ones, but it is Nancy's father. Then we have Dan via bike hybrid. And we have Julie, the other Tina death, but just an incredible one. And then our legendary deaths, we have of course Nancy from Dream Warriors. We have Nancy's mother, one of my all-time favourite. We have Jennifer via Welcome to Primetime, bitch. We have Philip, the marionette death. These are all from Dream Warriors. Then we go back to the original 4. Glenn via the famous bed sucking. Then we have Taryn from Dream Warriors via what we discussed a short little while ago, via needles to the arm. And then amazingly, second from top, amazing that we've kept her there. It really actually is amazing that we have, what's her name? Debbie, the Roach Motel one. I think it's there purely based on the effects. Purely based on the effects. It looks amazing. And then, of course, we have Tina from the original A Nightmare on Elm Street. Do you agree with our ranking? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?